because people coming together in general is necessary and powerful and healing, but especially women coming together. Time and time again, I am reminded of how important that is, how powerful it is, and how we really need and deserve to have more of that. Welcome to Ebbs and Flows with Erin. In this show, we're getting real about navigating the ups and downs of life together. I'm your host, Erin, and we're ditching the pressure to have it all figured out along the way because honestly, nobody does. We'll explore all things healing, growing, creating, and connecting. And if you deal with anxiety, depression, being a highly sensitive person, or just feeling overwhelmed by life sometimes, I see you, and this show is for you. My intention with these conversations is simple: to leave you feeling empowered, validated, and most importantly, reminded that you are never alone, no matter where you're at on your own journey. Learning that we all have the power to heal genuinely changed my life. And the best part, healing does not have to be complicated. The smallest changes really can make the biggest impact, and it can be joyful, fulfilling, and something that we do together. So join me in getting real about what it means to heal. Thank you for being here, and now let's get into it. Hello, and welcome to Ebbs and Flows with Erin, or welcome back to Ebbs and Flows with Erin. I'm your host, Erin, and whether you are listening or watching over on YouTube today, I am, as always, so grateful to have you here with me today. Today, you guys, I honestly did not know how I was going to gather the words to record this week's podcast. And that is because this past weekend, I co-hosted a women's wellness retreat with one of my good friends, Devin. And Devin is going to come on the podcast, and we're going to have a whole episode of our own to talk about our journey together as friends, our journeys separately with mental health, life, healing, and all the things, where we're at now, and how we came to the point of co-hosting a wellness retreat together. So we'll get into all of that in another episode. I'm so excited to have Devin on. She is one of the most beautiful, special souls that I've ever met, and we met 10 years ago in business school, and now we're here having just hosted a women's wellness retreat together. But again, we'll get into all of that in our own episode together. But today, I am still struggling to wrap my head around everything that happened on the weekend, all of the power and the healing and the connection that was had at this retreat. I feel like I am still coming back down to earth, and I always have a list, a live running list of podcast episode ideas that I keep. And each week I will either look at that list of topic ideas, or there'll be something that's on my mind or heart to talk about. And that's how I decide on what to record about each week. And honestly, this week, there's just simply no way that I could have the capacity mentally or emotionally or energetically to record on any topic other than this retreat. And just what I've been able to take away from hosting women's wellness retreats in general for the past year and a bit, because it is still the only thing that's really been on my mind for the past 2 days. But I also have to be honest that when I sat down to record on this topic, I was asking myself, oh, I wonder if anyone's even going to want to listen to this or hear this. I wonder if this is a good enough topic to record on that's interesting enough for people to listen to. And I was reminded of something that came up for me during the weekend at the retreat when we were doing a release ceremony, and then also during a heart breath Reiki session, which was so powerful. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But a theme that came up for me was releasing self-doubt and releasing the need to be perfect, to be worthy. So when these feelings came up about this episode and wondering if this is a good enough, quote unquote, if you're listening, I'm doing air quotes, topic, I caught myself and realized not every episode needs to be the perfect episode. And what does that even really mean? So I'm rolling with it. This is what we're going to talk about today, my takeaways from hosting women's wellness retreats. And I'm choosing to trust that it will land in the ears and the eyes of those who it is meant to reach. And I have talked many times in this podcast about being a recovering perfectionist. We have our whole perfectionism episode, what it really is, and why it's rooted in shame, and why the answer is self-compassion. We have a whole episode on that, and I mention it often that I identify as a recovering perfectionist. So having this come up for me over the weekend was a reminder that this is something that is a consistent practice, being recovering perfectionist, noticing and then giving myself permission to take action and not have to be perfect. So that's what we're doing today. Okay, before I get into my takeaways from hosting women's wellness retreats for the past year or so, I'm going to give a little more context behind what I mean by women's wellness retreat. So this past weekend, modalities such as meditation, sound baths, Reiki, breath work, somatic work, Pilates, cacao ceremony, EFT tapping, Kundalini yoga. What else was there? Am I missing anything? We did a little craft on the first night to bond together. We made these cutie little charm bracelets. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm wearing mine, which was honestly such a fun little bonding craft to start off with, because you're kind of asking the other girls, oh, why'd you choose that charm? Why'd you choose that charm? You're learning a lot about each other simply from the charms that you're choosing. And honestly, I'm obsessed with mine. So that was fun. But yes, it's a lot of holistic healing modalities. Oh, and hydrotherapy as well. On day 2, we guided the women through hydrotherapy, which is cold plunge, hot tub, sauna, cycles, and of course there was lots of journaling. But outside of the activities and the practices, also just having that time to connect with each other in the morning and in the evening after the activities had taken place, and to just be able to chat and laugh and bond and get to know each other, connect with other women who have all shown up in this space, choosing to heal, choosing to connect, choosing to show up for themselves, is arguably the most powerful part. Outside of the scheduled practices and the healing practices, just having that genuine time to bond and connect with other women who've all shown up, again, to be vulnerable and to choose themselves and to heal and grow is, I, again, still don't even really have the words to explain the power and the feeling of being a part of that, witnessing it, experiencing it. Every time I leave something like this, I am just so grateful and can't really believe that I get to be a part of these things and do this in life. And I'm reminded of all of these takeaways that I'm about to share with you, because I always leave these retreats and workshops reminded of all of these things. And they are very welcome, healthy reminders, if you ask me. And in the past workshops and retreats that I've hosted, they're always on the full moon with my partner Lacey in those retreats. And again, it's a lot of Reiki, meditation, yoga, journaling, and just connecting with other women. Because people coming together in general is necessary and powerful and healing, but especially women coming together, time and time again, I am reminded of how important that is, how powerful it is, and how we really need and deserve to have more of that. Okay, honestly, I keep trying to recap this retreat, but I'm still finding I need some time to just sit with myself and my thoughts and maybe journal on it, because I'm struggling to come up with the words. And also, I feel like I would love to chat about this in my episode with Devin. So if you're interested in hearing or seeing more about the retreat for now, you can check out my Instagram and stay tuned for my episode with Devin. But now I want to share my biggest takeaways from being in these spaces and connecting with so many women of so many different ages and backgrounds, because I feel like I leave these events, I witness all this happening, and I feel like I could talk about this for forever. So I'm going to take this opportunity to yap about it. And I hope if this is something you've maybe been interested in signing up for or experiencing some sort of healing retreat, but you've been on the fence, I hope that this can help inspire you to bite the bullet and give it a shot. There are so many women who show up alone, which I think is absolutely amazing. That's personally how I usually like to partake in these sort of things, on my own. There's also women that come with a friend. However you want to come, or however you want to go to whatever you're signing up for or attending, if you're feeling called to try it, if you're interested in going to some sort of women's circle, women's retreat, women's workshop, or just some sort of healing practice, if it's been on your mind at all, there's a reason for that. You're being called to it for a reason, and you never know until you try. And the thing about working with holistic health and wellness and these practices, this sort of healing, is that you can't harm yourself. It's not dangerous. So now let's get into my takeaways from hosting women's wellness retreats. Okay, my number one takeaway is that we all have way more in common than we even recognize. We all feel alone in what we are experiencing or feeling at any given time. It feels like it's just us going through what we're going through or struggling with what we're struggling with. And when we come together in these spaces where you are safe to share and open up and connect in a vulnerable, authentic way, I've witnessed so many times you are reminded and shown that you are absolutely never alone, which I always say here because it is proven to me over and over and over again that no matter what it is, you are never alone in what you're experiencing or feeling. And recognizing and realizing that it's not only you who is carrying these burdens or who has experienced something or felt something or struggled with something is so powerful in itself. And this leads me into my second takeaway, which is we need and crave connection. Everyone needs and craves connection. Without fail, every single retreat or workshop that I've hosted, it has been said by more than one person, we need to do this more often. We need this more often. Or this is exactly what I needed to connect with other like-minded women or just other women in general. To connect in a space that is safe to open up, be vulnerable, be authentic, laugh, cry, scream, chat, whatever it may be, just to be with others. And especially when you're choosing to sign up for and attend a retreat or a workshop like this, the connections made often fast track to being deeper than ones you make outside of this sort of space because you've all chosen to be here. So there is on some level a like-mindedness there. It also always comes up in these spaces where women are relating on the fact that there's people in our lives who, if we talk about this sort of stuff to them, they're laughing at us or thinking like you're crazy or they're just not into it. So I think it's so special when women choose to go out of their way to find a space that they can put themselves in to find like-minded women to connect with. Because it is really scary. It's scary to take that chance and sign up and drive there or get yourself there and enter a space where you might not be knowing anyone. And it's a space where you're going to have to be pretty vulnerable and open. And I mean, you can be as vulnerable as you want. You can be shut off to the process, and that happens sometimes. But by the end of the retreat or workshop, you are cracked open more than you thought you were going to be. Not because anyone's pressuring you to do so, but because witnessing others do so gives you permission and empowers you to allow yourself to have that happen. Again, I've seen it time and time again where someone will come in and be like, I came into this still kind of closed-minded, still kind of closed off, and I'm leaving with so much more clarity and healing and awareness of what I do need to let go of and address or whatever it may be than I even thought I ever would. And that brings me to my next biggest takeaway, which is that sometimes the biggest breakthroughs happen when we least expect them or have no expectations. And honestly, it's kind of close to 100% of the time from what I've witnessed is that it's when you don't have expectations of what you're going to release or what you need to call into your life or what you're going to experience at a retreat or through doing certain healing modalities. It is almost always when you go in with no preconceived notions or expectations that the biggest breakthroughs or the deepest healing happens. The most powerful moments happen when they're unexpected. So you might think to yourself, well, I don't know what to expect from going to something like this. And I would say, don't have any expectations. Just try to trust that whatever happens is for your highest good. And I had an experience with this at this past weekend's retreat. Throughout the weekend, I didn't participate in all of the practices because as a co-host, I'm there to hold space, also facilitate the flow of the logistics of the weekend or to help do so. It wasn't really conducive for me to partake in all the activities. But on the last day, there was one called Heart Breath Reiki, led by Ashley, Sacred Wild Heart. She is amazing. And I had been told by Devin and other girls who had experienced Heart Breath Reiki before, you need to try this. So I said, okay, I'm not missing it. Didn't really know what to expect. And I had a wildly powerful release. I had things coming through. I had things happening that I did not expect to happen. It was wild. I went through an absolute roller coaster of emotions and feelings and sensations and energy through this practice. And I went into this practice having no expectations for what was going to happen. And I think that's why I had such a powerful experience. Ashley is really such a beautiful soul, and I felt extremely safe with her being our guide and my guide. So as crazy as that experience might sound, I felt safe with her, and she's amazing. Again, Devin and I can unpack more of the details of the retreat and the practices and whatnot, but that's my example of my latest experience of having the most powerful breakthrough and moment happen when I had the least expectations for it. And again, I witnessed that so often, not only this weekend, but in every retreat, but this past weekend as well. Like, so many women at different times being like, wow, I didn't expect that this would be the moment that I'm crying, or having this come up for me, or realizing that this is what I need to release, or realizing that this is what I want to call in, or realizing that this is my intention. It happens all the time. So even when it comes to attending a retreat or something like this, or trying out holistic healing modalities, the best way to know how it works and what it's going to do for you is to just try it. And my next biggest takeaway is that we are all our own harshest critics. It is so easy for us to be able to see the light and the good in others and to tell them about it and acknowledge it, but then struggle to see that and do the same for ourselves. And I see it so much in these spaces because the women are so supportive of each other, and 99% of the time don't give themselves the same treatment and the same love and compassion. And I feel like that's something that we can use consistent reminders about, being intentional about the way that we speak to ourselves and treat ourselves. And I find that that's a really powerful element of showing up in these spaces with other women, because there is so much connection and support on this deeper level of each other that we struggle to see and give to ourselves. And there was one of the ladies, I forget who it was, but one of the ladies at the retreat this weekend had shared that she attended this retreat before, where whoever was guiding them through a practice got them to write out 10 things that they hated about themselves, without knowing the next step was that they were going to have to turn to the person next to them and read off these 10 things as if they were things that they were saying to that person. And that gave me chills when she shared that practice with us. It literally gave me chills because it is such a powerful example of how we are so quickly able to point out our own flaws, when if you were to turn to a stranger or a family member or a friend and say the things that you say to yourself, you would never, or you'd feel really fucking terrible for doing so. So I thought that was powerful. And I've seen so many times in these spaces where women leave feeling more self-worth or self-confidence and self-love because of the love and support and connection that they've received in these spaces with other women. And it's really beautiful to see. And we all deserve that and need more of that. We need the compassion and love that we so genuinely give to others to give to ourselves. Yet it's something that pretty much all women struggle with, is self-love and self-worth. But it's one of the most moving, fulfilling, beautiful parts about being in these spaces, is seeing women witnessing each other and recognizing the beauty and the power and the light in each other. It is, I think, my favorite part of hosting these retreats and being a part of them. And especially as someone who for so long felt so alone in my mind and struggled with depression, anxiety, just feeling lost or unseen and unheard, all the things we talk about on this podcast, and sharing all the things that have helped me to come out of that space and genuinely better my overall life, my overall health and wellness. I don't even know if I've fully in my life been able to wrap my head around the fact that I now get to do this and help to create these spaces to share the practices, the modalities, the energy that has so greatly changed and improved my life with other women who might be in a spot that I was once in and can still be in sometimes, because life isn't perfect and there's always good days, there's always bad days, there's always all the days in between. It is healthy and normal to feel all the spectrum of emotions as a human being. So showing up in these spaces where we're reminded that we're not alone in experiencing them or feeling them is so powerful, so beautiful, and genuinely the greatest honor of my life. Now, I hope that something in this episode today was valuable or interesting to listen to. As I mentioned, my brain is still not completely online. My feet are still not completely planted back down on earth. I still have a lot of integration and reflection to do on this retreat weekend, but I'm trusting that sharing this for this week's podcast episode is valuable and is hitting all the people it is meant to hit. And I'm so grateful for whoever is listening, and anyone that I have gotten to connect with or am getting to connect with in the future in these spaces. I want you to know that it means more to me than I could ever express in words. And I'm genuinely beyond blessed to be able to connect with you. It is, again, my greatest honor and joy. And I feel like at the end of these events, we're always like, oh, keep in touch, keep in touch. And sometimes I don't know if people, fully think that we mean it or that I mean it, but I do. So if we've ever connected, I would be absolutely thrilled to continue that connection. And if you are interested in hearing or seeing more about the past retreats that I've hosted, or future retreats or workshops, my meditations, my Reiki, my anything, you can follow over on Instagram at EBBS FLOWS 222. Send me an email. It's linked below. Send me a text if you're listening to this on a podcast platform. That link is in the description below. And I'm so excited to record with Devin so that we can dive deeper into this past weekend's retreat and the retreats that she's been hosting in general, her story with her own mental health and healing journey, because we share somewhat similar paths. And I'm so excited to talk to her on this platform. I have a few other guests lined up to come on the podcast as well, which I'm so excited about because it's been quite a while since I've had a guest, which is quite honestly mostly just on me because of time and effort. But I'm feeling excited and grateful for the path that we're on here. So thank you for listening. I'm sending a lot of love and gratitude, and I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.